What's going on, everybody? It's Ricky with Video Homicide, back with another movie review slash recommendation. Today we're going to go back to the year 1968 to take a look at a film directed by Freddie Francis. That film is Hammer's Dracula Has Risen from the Grave. Yes, when I was a kid, this was my favorite one to watch out of the Hammer flicks, and now upon a rewatch for the first time in a very long time, I gotta say, the only reason I prefer Horror of Dracula to this one is because Peter Cushing is in it. So this takes a close second for me. This is a phenomenal film. I love that this movie takes more of like an exploitation-y feel to it. And what I mean by that is it's very sort of raunchy and sleazy at parts, and it's also got its there's like a carriage chase, like this barmaid chick who constantly has her fucking tits hanging out. She's being chased by Dracula's ghoul. So basically, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, okay, what I want to say is this movie, and I've been excited the whole time throughout this Hammer rewatch to like remember how they came back, how they died. So I obviously knew how he died in this one, but it had been so long since I watched it. I'm like, how the fuck does Dracula come back? Like in the last one, he was submerged in water and that's what killed him. In this one, we've got the story of a priest, and basically he discovers that there's a dead body inside this bell of the church. It's actually discovered by like this little deaf mute kid, but this bell has a fucking half-naked chick in there dead with the Dracula bites. One thing I gotta say, the bites look really good in this film. They're definitely the best looking bites on the neck that I've seen so far. I did take a few notes because I feel like there's a decent amount to talk about with this one. So basically, Dracula comes back to life by this priest who goes to see the castle because there's this dead body. He's joined by this other priest, and he falls at one point and like on this blanket of ice basically, and Dracula's there. The guy busts his head open so the blood goes into Dracula's mouth. That explains how we get Dracula back into motion. The priest guy sort of becomes this ghoul. If you've seen Vampire in Brooklyn, I forget the name of the actor, but the guy that like becomes Eddie Murphy's ghoul in the film, that's sort of what this priest dude has become, but a much more depressing version than Vampire in Brooklyn, that's for sure. So yeah, there's like a car chase with a carriage, which like I said, it's sort of like it's exploitation-y. I don't know, it's just the only way I can describe it. It's getting into the later 60s, and we're just getting a little bit more insanity, I would say. One thing that's funny, when these priests go up to the castle to sort of like, to bless it or whatever, Dracula's castle, like there's the huge beautiful doorway, and it's just sealed with a single 2x4. It's like, I thought that was hilarious. Dracula ends up storing his coffin underneath of this. It's like a bar, and then underneath of it's a bakery, and then underneath of that sort of like a sewer system, and that's where Dracula's body's being stored. The barmaiden chick, she gets fucked up by Dracula at one point, and she's sort of a jealous type because she's sort of fucking around with this guy named Paul. The reason I say Paul like that is because in Curse of Frankenstein, Dracula's partner is named Paul, and there's a part where he's like, Paul! I always thought that shit was funny as fuck, but so yeah, I like the resting place underneath of the bakery and all that shit. There's a scene in here where Dracula gets stabbed with a stake. It's actually on the back of the VHS tape. So if you just bought this, you'd be like, what the fuck? Well, obviously Dracula gets staked out in a lot of these films, but there's that on the back cover. But what happens is a lot of good blood comes out, by the way, as well. It's a very bloody scene. Looks great. The blood looks great. But basically, if you don't say a prayer while killing Dracula, it won't kill him. So our main guy, Paul, he's basically a fucking atheist or whatever, doesn't believe in God or whatever, but by the end, of course, he's doing the whole fucking thing. He ends up getting attached to this Paul's girlfriend and sort of stalking her out, and our priest guy, she fucks off, and he sees, like, the priest sees Dracula fucking around with the daughter, chases him over the rooftops, and then the other priest fucking bashes him in the head with a brick, kills him eventually, and it leads into a shot, or to like a little bit of a scene where the girl, Paul's girlfriend, is on this rooftop, and Dracula is like fucking the background. The only way I can describe it is it's like total giallo. It looks like a total fucking giallo. Like the lighting looks phenomenal, fantastic. Dracula and his ghoul, they end up stealing this chick and taking her to the castle, and that's where the end happens, and the thing is, I remember this being such like much more of a fight at the end, but basically what happens is our guy Paul goes up to Dracula lunges at him and tries to throw him over this ledge, and then by chance he falls over the ledge and he fucking lands on top of the gold cross, which is the scene that's seared in my memory since I was a kid. And then our priest, who is the ghoul, he's feeling bad and he does the prayer, and Dracula dies right there on the spot. So great film, good ending, good Dracula film. This, like I said, this was way better than Prince of Darkness, way better than Brides of Dracula, but again, it does not surpass Horror of Dracula, only because of Peter Cushing. And truth be told, you get a decent amount of Dracula in this film, but not as much as I'd like. I mean, you get the cool eyes, you get the bloody eyes and all that stuff. It looks great, but just a little bit more Dracula would have been nice. But I did like all the sort of side characters, like the bartender guy who's like pissed drunk the whole time, you can tell. And you know, there's just like a whole lot of fun to be had in this film. It's a good one, definitely second favorite so far. So how would I rate Dracula's death out of this one? To me, it's like probably, I like this death much more than Horror of Dracula, because in that one, basically what happens is he gets the fucking windows, the curtain gets ripped open, and there, you know, across. It's super simple. This one, I like it. But like I said, when I was a kid, I remember him like falling all like fucking dramatically and all this stuff. It's pretty quick. It's like, you know, they get to the castle and then fucking bam, it's done. So a great one. Don't sleep on this one. Directed by Freddie Francis. I believe the first one not directed by Terrence Fisher. So 1968's Dracula has risen from the grave. Shout out to my dad for letting me watch this movie a million times when I was a kid. And, you know, I got, I think, 8 or maybe 5 more Hammer Dracula films to go after this. So stay tuned. Stay safe out there, and 666 in the comments.